back to Big Riff Energy. It's episode 115, the rare Monday episode. I think it's a first. Monday, July 28th. This is going to be a normal, regular old episode of Big Riff Energy. I refuse to let this become the dude with the cancer wife podcast. I wouldn't want to watch that. I wouldn't expect anybody else to want to watch that. So we're back to normal here. I'm going to hit some emails. Got some questions about Swedish melodic death metal. Got a question about Van Halen, the guitarist and the band. I think it's the first time I will be talking about Van Halen on here, which is surprising. I'm going to be talking about the fantastic new album by the band Wytch, Hazel. It's their 5th album called Lamentations. Really good stuff for fans of old school riffage. I'll give away the Bandcamp download code as well to the first person that can type that stuff in. Gonna go over the best riff, singular, another first, the single best riff of 1982. Nothing comes close. So stick around to find out what the absolute number one best riff of 82 is, and really one of the probably top 10 best riffs ever written. What else? Yeah, if you want updates on the whole situation with my wife, I'm going to keep that shit in the GoFundMe. So if you're that interested, hit the GoFundMe. I'll be doing updates on there, and I think everybody gets an email, and you can unsubscribe if you don't want updates, but I'm going to separate these things out. I'm not going to talk about that on here. If you're that interested in that concern, go over there, and that's where the updates will be. Oh yeah, I'm offering a new service. I'm riffing for hire. I'm doing riffs on spec, you know? Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Everybody knows about Cameo. You pay Randy Travis or Stone Cold Steve Austin or whoever's on there $200, $300, $500, and they read a little script that you give them. This is like Cameo, except instead of doing some lazy half-ass whatever, hey guys, I'm writing you riffs. It's gonna be several riffs. It's like it's a mini song kind of. And I'll give you a perfect example of one I just did. So I hope they don't mind me sharing this. That would be weird if they did mind, so I'm going to do it anyway. I got a email from Death Metal Pug YouTube channel. They said, hey, Nate, I'll throw it up here on the screen. Hey, Nate, would you be willing to write an opening riff for our Death Metal Pug YouTube channel for money? I took out the number because they gave me significantly more than what I'm asking for, which you're welcome to do as well. We could use it in the opening of the show. Would it be okay to say it was written by you? Absolutely. So here's the prompt. We like most death metal: Cannibal Corpse, Blood Incantation, Dragged into Sunlight, Carcass, Black Dahlia Murder, Deicide, new and old. You get the gist. So there's my prompt. I'm going to show you exactly what I did, and I'm going to talk over it so that nobody can like steal it or whatever, but also because it'll help you kind of understand what you're going to get if you ask for one of these. Okay, here we go. The bands they mentioned, I'm using my beloved Black Limba Dunnable with the EMG pickups. It's in drop A right now because I've been working on a Spirit of Drift song that is in drop A, actually, which there have been a couple. Yeah, it just seemed fitting for their request. So obviously I'm taking all the bands they mentioned, but my own preferences are going to come through clearly. So we have an intro here, which I think is kind of a little Nile and a little ominous circle from Portugal. Remember that? Intro, double kicker part. Same riff, basically, just double kicked out. Got to hit him with a slammer. And then the cannibal trills, you know. Yeah, and the outro almost kind of reminds me of like Metalocalypse or Death Clock or something. So yeah, I gave him a big intro with 3 guitars. I wanted to put that octave spooky thing on there. Kind of sounds like Nile a little bit. And then the double blaster part, I think I threw some Morbid Angel harmonies in there. Took advantage of that third guitar going down the middle. And yeah, I had to do like a slammer ignorant mosh part that was kind of Cannibal, but kind of, they mentioned Black Dahlia too, so maybe a little bit more modern. When I do those like groove death metal parts, I can't help but for it to be a little bit wigged out. It's weird. Even the stuff I wrote for Gatecreeper, I'm like, damn, I think Chase might have mentioned it to me. Like, and some of this stuff's like kind of wigged out. It's not quite new, but it's, it'll get you like bopping or whatever. But yeah, they mentioned Cannibal, so I had to do the little index to pinky trills and stuff like that. So anyway, if you want one of those, if you want to get a gift for your lover or best bud, or get a hate diss track for your mortal enemy or your boss as you're quitting work, or if you have a podcast and you need like a vamp or an intro theme, or if your band fucking sucks, and like if your band sucks, I'll write you a whole song. But we're gonna have to talk rates on that. I'll do something like that for $100. They gave me a lot more, so I put a little more attention to detail on it. But yeah, at least 2 guitar tracks, bass, drums for $100. If you want to pay me more, I'll do more. So write me at bigriffenergy@gmail.com. There's actually a link to in the description. Shoot me the money. Name 3 bands or 3 songs you want it to be in the style of, or you can just tell me to do whatever. And I can literally do whatever. If you want it to sound like Tangerine Dream, I can do some shit like that. If you want like a country sounding thing, like I can literally do whatever. So bigriffenergy@gmail.com. And all that money is going to go to helping out my wife. So thank you guys. And that was fun, man. It's really fun. I really, really enjoy doing it. So thanks to the Death Metal Pug guys, because I get to flex my gift, or I don't know. That sounds kind of pretentious. My passion. That's what I like to do. I like to flex that muscle. I hadn't flexed my death metal muscle in a long time, so it's kind of cool to know that I still got it. It's still in there. Okay, shall we go to emails? Oh, you know what? I'll do the best riff of 82. It's a very, very easy choice for me. Very easy choice. I'm going to talk about more than one riff, because I always do. But I'm only going to talk about one riff, really. Make sure this sumbitch working. Electric Eye, Judas Priest, #1 riff of 82. Not really up for debate. Hallowed Be Thy Name by Iron Maiden is one of my favorite songs of all time. I like that song more than Electric Eye, to be honest. However, it's one of those weird situations that we've run into a couple times. We were running into it with Priest, where I'd sit and play the riffs, and I'm like, man, the power of this guitar stuff is really dependent on the full band and the full context of what's going on with bass and the 2 guitars. Obviously, like, and Hallowed Be Thy Name, one of the coolest things ever. But if you play it on one guitar, it's just not as badass as that's just fucking one of my favorite riffs ever. But yeah, I will mention Hallowed Be Thy Name. Maybe my favorite song of 82. But again, and some Sabbath songs are like that as well. Like Geezer, even like Killing Yourself to Live, I was listening to the other day. Geezer Butler's playing the riff on the verse. And if you just play what Tony's playing, you're like, where's the rest of it? You know? And I feel that way about a lot of Iron Maiden stuff. Screaming for Vengeance has, dude, I think the best riff on it is Electric Eye, but you can pick almost any song on there. I mean, how sick is this? Bloodstone? Come on. Anyway, yeah, pick a riff on Screaming for Vengeance. The one I'm going to pick is Electric Eye. Easily my favorite riff of 1982. Now we'll go to emails. Man, you guys are probably expecting me to talk about Ozzy. I can't do it. I'm just not going to do it. If you have specific questions about Ozzy or Black Sabbath or whatever, you can ask me, bigriffenergy@gmail.com. But with everything that's going on, I'm just too. For one thing, I've probably talked about Ozzy and Black Sabbath literally every single episode of this podcast. Another thing, I mean, I'm already kind of late and I don't think I can add to what anybody has said. I'm just a fan. Yeah, and with everything that's going on, I just like, I don't think I can say anything that'll be entertaining or profound enough to be worth it to even talk about it right now. But if you have, yeah, specific questions about Ozzy or Sabbath, I will talk about it. I just don't fucking feel like it right now. It sucks. I'll just say that. It fucking sucks, but it doesn't, because he went out. I mean, he went out in probably the coolest way that any human being's ever gone out. But that's all I can say about it right now. Kevin would be interested in your thoughts on the late 90s Swedish melodic death scene. At the Gates, In Flames, The Haunted, Hypocrisy. Yeah, I've discovered In Flames pretty early in my life, not in their career. Reroute to Remain 2002. So I was 14. I discovered them through CKY2K, the Bam Margera video that I just read the other day, that his parents were going to lose their house, and they had a house across the street from like a sewage treatment plant, and Darren Miller was just talking about it on the Garza podcast. But apparently they were going to lose that house, and Bam made that CKY2K video, and it sold like 1 million+ copies. And man, he kind of impressed me. I watched an interview with him the other day too. He was going after European or the company that distributed it, because they said that they didn't distribute it in Europe. And he was like, well, I was just, and he's a kid at this point, mind you. He's like, I was just in Iceland and I saw it on shelves over there. So you're lying. So he audited the company, and turns out they were distributing this video worldwide, and he got a bunch more money from, anyway. This fucking kid made this video where they're rubbing shit on each other and jumping off of buildings and shit, and saved his parents' house. Pretty crazy. But that's an aside. CKY2K is how I discovered In Flames, because I looked at, like, this was 2002, so we didn't really know how to work the internet or anything like that. 14 years old in Oklahoma. And we would watch stuff like that and then look at the end credits and just like write down all the band names, and then go to FYE in our mall and just try to find all these bands, you know. So the newest album out at the time was Reroute to Remain, which is probably the last In Flames album that I like. Their last one had some cool shit on it, but, and I don't think I would like Reroute to Remain today if I heard it, but I was 14, you know, so it's like, oh, this is cool. And some of those songs are still like super badass live, but that's when they really kind of went like mainstream, super mainstream. Some of the stuff before that, Clayman, and I do like Colony, but man, when I heard what the fuck, The Jester Race, when I heard that album, it just completely blew me away. Still to this day, I can listen to that thing front to back today, and it's like hearing it for the first time. To me, that is like one of the few perfect, flawless, literally wouldn't change a single thing about it records that I've ever heard. I feel like every second of it is literally perfect. Um, dude, changed me. It's still like completely influences my sense of melody within the context of like metal music and uh my guitar harmonies and the phrasing of the vocals. Obviously, what's his name? Anders is like screaming, but it's the phrasing is like so good and the emotion is so good. You can hear him like sucking for air, between lines. Just everything about that record, except for the Comic Sans font on the cover where it says Jester Race. So to me, it's like I started discovering those other bands after I heard that, and I didn't think anything was as good. I like what'd you mention? Soil Work or whatever? Are they Swedish? Yeah, I like that stuff. At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul would probably be like right under Jester Ace for me personally for that Swedish melodic stuff. The Haunted, I have not given as much a chance to. I've heard that I would love them. Should probably give that a shot. Yeah, it was just one of those things, man. Like hearing Jester Race before I heard any of the other Swedish bands, it's like I was just chasing that high ever since. And the first thing to really scratch that itch was the Majesties album that came out on 20 Buck Spin a few years back. And I hear there's more stuff being made, but that's privileged information. I don't even know if I should say that. But yeah, and Majesties is from fucking Minnesota. They're not something to do with the cold and the snow or something like that. The interesting thing about Sweden too is, from what I understand, I don't know about today, but definitely back when like melodic death metal was coming up, uh, you can pretty easily qualify for being in a band, technically being your full time job, in the eyes of the Swedish government, and they will help you financially. So that's why Sweden has cranked out so many sick metal bands. Another interesting thing that I think about sometimes is even the non-melodic, quote, non-melodic Swedish death metal bands, like Dismember, for example, have very melodic parts. Like even the first riff on like a never flowing stream is like pretty catchy, pretty melodic. It's like it's kind of in their blood. Maybe the ABBA thing. But yeah, to me, In Flames, Just a Race is the absolute pinnacle, and no other Swedish record has come close to that. But that Majesty's record out of Minnesota came pretty damn close. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, Sweden, Swedish death metal is Swedish death metal, and like Florida death metal slash New York State to Florida pipeline death metal, two very different things. The Swedish stuff is just a little more melodic in general, all of it. Um, I would listen also if you haven't. I've talked about it on here. It'll be on my album of the year list for sure. This band Lick, Lik, which is Swedish for corpse. They have a new album called Necro. I think Metal Blade put it out, and it's kind of more like Dismember or Entombed, but with a lot of that melodicism. There's parts that even sound like I'm on a Marth. You know what? That's a good one with Odin at our side. Amon Amarth. I think that qualifies as melodic death metal. I would put that in my top 5 Swedish melodic death metal albums for sure. But check out that band Lick. You will like them. Jack Solomon. That's a strong name, dude. That almost sounds like an Alfred Hitchcock character, or like a 50s fucking homicide detective or something. Jack Solomon. You're like a Quentin Tarantino character. Hey Nate, hope this finds you well. I let 78, 79, and 80 go by and didn't say anything about Van Halen, but Unchained from 81's Fair Warning has untouchable riffs. I don't know if you've talked about Eddie on here, but I've been wondering what your thoughts are about him and the rest of the band. Obviously, he's a lead guitar virtuoso, but I have to talk about his rhythm playing, which is really that lead slash rhythm guitar you've talked about. Yeah, I've mentioned that with like Hendrix, Neil Young, just more of kind of the mindset of the 60s and 70s guys, like different chord voicings, different little licks to get between the chords and stuff. Eddie definitely does that. Um, yeah, that man had such incredible pocket, and paired with his brother Alex on drums, they created the best guitar and drum rhythm sections. Eddie undoubtedly has riffs, and I believe he was the epitome of big riff energy. I think it's also worth noting that he definitely falls into the rock star personification to the T. I encourage you to give 84 a listen when you are considering best riffs of 84. I will, man. Yeah, everything you said I agree with wholeheartedly. It is weird that I haven't talked about Van Halen on here. I love Eddie. I mean, I think if you were going to mention two guitar players in our world, it has to be Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen. Has to be. Um, for me personally, it would probably be like Hendrix and Dimebag, but a lot of the shit Dimebag did was invented by Eddie. Um, it's weird to have a guy that late in the game of an art form, like the guitar had been around forever. It's strange to see somebody show up and just start inventing literally like dozens, if not hundreds, of techniques that just didn't exist before. It's almost like seeing John Jones show up to mixed martial arts. You're like, dude, how long has martial arts been around? And this kid shows up and is just like, or like Anderson Silva or whatever. Speaking of which, total aside, but somebody asked me a long time ago about that John Jones Tom Aspinall fight. What did I say? John's not going to show up, and I was right. But anyway, Eddie is that guy. Like he shows up, centuries into this art form, and is like, y'all never thought to do this. Y'all never thought to do that. Just like a supernova of ideas and imagination and technique and just like unbridled fucking chaos and energy. Yeah, it's him and Hendrix. Those are the guys, really. I Here's the thing though. I got the first Van Halen record when I was a kid. Thought it was okay. There was a lot about it I didn't like. Um, Pretty Woman and Ice Cream. I like the dark stuff, but there's not enough. There's not enough. That's the thing. I would put Van Halen as maybe I would hear the argument that he's the best guitar player that ever lived and like most important, especially for what we do. But the irony is I don't really like his band that much and I don't like a lot of the songs. I do like a lot of they have a ton of songs, right? I like a good deal of them. I like what did you mention? Unchained. And yeah, Fair Warning 81 is definitely my favorite Van Halen album by far. Uh if I was gonna pick a favorite riff from that, it would be Mean Street. Like that whole song. It's what you're saying. Blurring the line of rhythm and lead. You listen to Mean Street and you're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? It's so sick. And that album's a little darker and meaner sounding. The subject matter is slightly darker. Um, I think I actually, well, I definitely prefer Sammy Hagar as a singer uh, and musician and frontman and person. I worked for Sammy one time in Phoenix, Arizona, and he was like one of the coolest people I've ever encountered in my life. He treated everybody on the crew like they were his best friends. He was like really making sure that every single person, including like the lowest of the low stagehand, was seen and was like having fun. And then he went out there and just fucking whipped at. Sammy Hagar fucking rules. I'm a big, big Sammy Hagar fan for life. I even like some of the cornier Sammy Hagar era Van Halen stuff. But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like in such awe of the skill of the band and specifically Eddie on guitar. And like I'll listen to a song and there'll be a part where I'm like, oh, that's sick. And then it goes into something that's just goofball shit that I just cannot get into. And that's most of their songs. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's indisputable that he's one of the greatest guitar players of all time. And he has riffs and big riff energy. Rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. And if I was gonna pick a favorite riff, it's Mean Streets. All right. Hope that rambling fucking tirade answered your question there. Man, what's going on? Yeah. I got a lot of emails and a lot of messages. I was up, couldn't sleep one night, and I was on my phone and I tried to respond to literally all of you. I don't think I was able to hit everybody. But it's just amazing how many people at a certain point in the timeline, I guess it's everybody is going to be affected by cancer, you know, whether you get it or somebody you know gets it. Like seems like it's unavoidable. So I was just astounded by that, how many really meaningful stories and experiences you guys were sharing over the last week. And I just really, really appreciate it. If I didn't get back to you, it's just because well, if you've been through it, you know, it's just fucking, it's just chaos. So again, this is going to be big riff energy. This is not going to be dude with cancer wife, help us please podcast. Fuck that. I even told her yesterday, I'm like, this is not going to be dude with cancer wife podcast. And she laughed and was like, yeah, fuck that. Please don't do that. So yeah, if you're invested enough in it to want updates, there's a link to the GoFundMe. Even if you give $1 when I do an update, you'll get an email. And if you don't care enough to give $1, then you don't care enough to get an update about it. So who gives a shit? Yeah, I'm riffing for hire, baby. There's a link for that too. Write me bigriffenergy@gmail.com. Tell me what kind of riffs you want and send me money. I would love to avoid getting into like long form back and forth email conversations about it. It's really just easier for me if you can say, I want mine to sound like Dio Sabbath, yeah, Taken by Force era Scorpions and something else. I'll be like, okay, I got you. Or be like, give me something that's a cross between Iron Man, you know, Shoplift by I Hate God and uh Funeralopolis by Electric Wizard. I got you. Just let's keep it. Come on, guys. Give me a break here. Album of discussion from the UK, Wytch Hazel. Fifth album, Lamentations. Yeah, their fourth album. It took me a while to get into these guys. I think it's because they dress like Friar Tuck and shit. Costume warning. Costume warning. But they're really good, man. Their fourth album was on my year-end list like 2 or 3 years ago. This one is like their least metal album, and I like it. It really reminds me of the Ashbury album, Endless Skies. I know a ton of you guys love that record. I've talked about it extensively on here. Yeah, it reminds me of Ashbury, Endless Skies. It reminds me of Helas from Sweden, who I love so much. Yeah, we had a question maybe a couple weeks ago about 70s obscure proto metal, when they're still just like barely driving a Marshall stack, you know? So bands like Sir Lord Baltimore and Leaf Hound and Cactus and Free a little bit, maybe like early Pentagram, like early 70s Pentagram, but they're on the other side. They're on the side of the light, you know, and not pushing their mom down the stairs on a crack bench. Yeah, if you like any of that stuff, check out the new Witch Hazel album. I'm gonna hold this up. You're probably not gonna be able to see it, but I'm gonna give somebody this free Bandcamp download because I don't need it. So you redeem it at Witch Hazel. Witch is with a Y, WY, Witch Hazel .bandcamp.com/yum, YUM. YUM. All right, here's the code. Go to that link and type in this code Q as in Queensryche, E as in Exodus, 7-7, J as in Jagpanzer, P as in Pantera, J as in Judas Priest, X as in the punk band X. That's QE77 dash JPJX. Grab that new Wytch Hazel album, Lamentations. It's great. It'll be on my year-end list. Absolutely. I get early Thin Lizzy from it too. All that kind of stuff. Man, I think that's it. Yeah, there's links to all kinds of stuff in the bio, or not in the bio, in the description. Um, the Spirit of Drift shirt design we were supposed to be selling in Europe, you can still pre-order that from Night Shift, and they do ship worldwide. All of the money from that's going to Nicole. Razors in the Night did a Neon Nightmare exclusive shirt. There's a link for that. All that money's going to Nicole. And hit me up if you want some riffs for hire. BigRiffEnergy at gmail.com. All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time.